All right, so here we go. Here's this mask. So it's got this nice front panel. It goes from nose to chin. Because of its shape, it's not touching my mouth at all. Like, there's plenty of space in here, so it doesn't feel very claustrophobic. The side is constructed in a way where it's flat, so there's no buckle on the side here. There's no gap. Same thing on the chin. It just is right on the skin. There's no gaps there. And the nose works pretty well too. This is an example without metal or wire in here, but it would be pretty easy to add that in the process too. So now I'll show you how to make it. Okay, so I have 2 layers of baseball fabric. Right side's facing, wrong side facing out, I guess. Maybe I wrote that wrong in my instructions. I have a template. I'm not fancy, so I just use a pen. And now I'm going to cut this out. Okay, so before getting too fancy, I just go ahead and sew the 2 sides together. I start about here, go around, and then end right about here. I find that having the hole on one of the long ends is the best place to have it. And now I will turn it right side out. Okay, probably the fiddliest step of the whole process is making sure to poke the corners out so that they're really nice and crisp. The reason I like to have the open edge or the opening on the long edge is because then when I do this process, then it's really easy to have that neatly folded over. I found it was really hard to do if I kept it open over here. I'm not going to sew that. That's just going to be sewn in with a top stitch in a later step. So I'm just going to iron. Make sure that this opening is ironed really nicely. And then, this is not anything too fancy or tricky. Just trying to get it nice and flat. Now, I just eyeball this, but if you wanted to do it with a ruler, you could. Now, I kind of fold this over. I try to make these straight. Usually I look about here to see if it's close. Just to eyeball it. And then same thing on the other side. So now I've created this little rectangle. Again, I'm not measuring, but the inside should be about 8 centimeters because I find that's what fits on my face best. It's a little short for my husband's face, so I would maybe bump the whole pattern up a ½ inch or another centimeter. Okay, so now when I go back to the sewing machine, I'm going to sew this top stitch all the way around. When I get to these corners, I'm going to fold this down so that when I sew this line, it catches this guy. And then back around, and then same thing here. When I get to this corner, I'll flop this down and catch that when I sew this line and finish it. Okay, so now I've finished my top stitching. I have ended in that original corner. Now I've lifted my foot so I can kind of work with this guy, but I'm going to keep my thread. I'm using the same line and thread. So now this first, we've got the flap that's folded in that we just top stitched down. The corner, I'm gonna, if I just went like this and folded it, it would be a 2-dimensional object, right? You get kind of that V shape, or an obtuse V. So I'm gonna pull that corner up so that the line that we create is parallel with this line of stitching that I'm pointing at. I'm gonna pin that guy. I'll do the same to all 4. And so this is kind of what it ends up looking like. So before doing this, this was a two-dimensional object still. Now we're turning it into a three-dimensional object. Okay, so here's another view of that. So the original top stitching from that first rectangle, you can see, so that went, you know, and if I fold this over, you can see it went down this side. Now we flopped these over and pinned them, and we did the top stitching around the outside of that shape. In the meantime, we stitched down the opening from when we turned it right side out. So you'll never know where that, I don't even know if that's where it was. Might have been there. And now we've created these two side sections that lay really nice and flat on your cheek. So that was actually this line all the way around, plus this line all the way around. I never lifted my thread and snipped anything until the very end. So that's actually one contiguous line of thread. Now, we ran out of elastic. So I have, and my daughter ran out, it has a tank top that was too small. So I cut her tank top, it's just jersey cotton, into 1-inch strips. And if you pull jersey, it just kind of rolls on itself. And it's very, very stretchy, right? I am now finding that it's significantly more comfortable than elastic. So I sort of wish that I had done this from the start, but that's how these projects go. You learn. All right, so what I do is I actually just use the safety pin. Whoops, but I don't actually pin anything. I just slip it through like it's a needle. I mean, this is so chunky, it's super easy to work with. I'll slide it through my little elastic, ear elastic loop here. Pull it through. And now I'm actually going to leave this untied. This particular mask is for Liam, who is a kid, but he's a bigger kid than my kid. And so I don't exactly know, like, I know where to tie this for Charlie, but I don't exactly know where this needs to be tied for Liam. So I'm going to leave that untied for now. And then his grandma can try that on him and tie it to the right shape. I'll do the same thing. So I'll, do my, slide this through the other one and leave it untied for now. But that's pretty much it. So now you have this awesome mask. Baseballs for Liam. It's got this great shape for the chin and the nose. This is this part that stays really flat on your cheek and doesn't do the buckling like I don't like on the other ones. Because the elastic is narrower than the rest, it doesn't, it just goes to your ears without pulling or bunching, which is great. And then none of this actually touches your mouth. So you've got, it's not claustrophobic to me at all. It's super comfortable, breathable, really great little project.